Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Epic Hour. We'll give you guys some time to get logged in. Hope everybody's having a great day.
Yeah, hopefully it's as sunny where you are where we are.
We actually decided to do this in Alisa's backyard, so in the sunshine.
Yes, the trees are nice, the sun is nice. Not so happy with mosquitoes, but it's the way it goes. Oh, she's talking to the tech team, just so you all know.
We got 5 people so far. Beth Pagano. Hello, pretties. Hello, Beth. Awesome. Yeah, so we'll just give it a few more minutes just so people can get logged in and all that kind of stuff. I don't even know what day of the week it is. It's Thursday, apparently. Yes. I thought it was Wednesday.
Yeah.
Who knew? Time's been flying. We've been pushing through deals like crazy. This is actually the final week of doing the 50 houses, 50 hassle-free landlord properties in 60 days. So that actually ends on Monday. So we have had people commenting, hey, can I still get in a 17% house? Unfortunately, people needed to be in 3 weeks ago if they were going to buy a property, but we still have lots of 15% houses. It's still a strong return. So if somebody's interested in still being a hassle-free landlord owner, we got lots of properties coming your way. We've been buying just as many as we've been selling to hassle-free landlord owners. So we're pumping up our inventory. So we'll be ready to take on the next batch of new hassle-free landlord owners or clients coming back for extras. We just had one client last night. They bought one 17% house and they're coming back for another 2 more. So yay. Look at them. So very exciting
yay
stuff.
Team Epic and yay investors.
Yeah, so very, very fun. And we've been also getting a lot more inventory. So with doing the 50 houses in 60 days, we kind of ran out of the low-end houses and the high-end houses. So we had nothing under 200,000 left and nothing over 300,000 left. So Alyssa's been on a buying frenzy. So we've been filling up a lot of houses, again, under that price point and over that price point. So the goal was to get 10 properties over 300,000 and we are halfway there. So we actually have some properties that are 350. I think we had a 375. We've got a 410, a 415. Highest one right now is 450. Our new build duplex, though, is going to be ready in the next few weeks. So that one should be closer to 500,000. So yeah, all the things. So
excellent. Most excellent. So for those of you that don't know what our theme is today, it's key terms for real estate investing, to help break down terms for beginners, or even some of you that have been around for a while. There may be a term or a question that you've always wanted to ask about. Well, what does that actually mean? What is an actual agreement for sale? What is an actual wholesaler? What is it actually defined as? And so we're here today to answer any of those questions that anyone would like to have answered.
Yeah, or if you guys want to completely change the topic or the subject, ask away. We want you guys to control these, so please be conversational. I'd love to hear your thoughts, or even if you just have a thought of the day you want to share with everybody.
Tell us if you've done an amazing real estate transaction, or if you just have become an investor with us. Any of the things are great.
For sure. So yeah, well, I guess we've got 8 people on now. There might be a few more people trickling in.
Yeah.
But do we want to kind of talk about different
items? We can start breaking some of this down.
Okay.
To break them in and warm them up.
Sure. So there's 1.5 million different ways to do real estate investing. I mean, even if you look at the actual basis of real estate investing, you've got the basic residential, which is usually single family homes or up to 4plexes. So if you went to the bank to get a mortgage, a residential mortgage would be a single family home, duplex, triplex, or 4plex. Anything that's usually 5 suites or larger is then bumping you into commercial territory. Commercial is like multifamily. It's kind of, there's 2 sides of it, but the commercial I'm talking about, it's basically the other side where it's going to be the 5plexes or higher for the apartment buildings. But then there's also the business side of actually owning business buildings, or people where you might have
business properties.
Yeah, you might have a warehouse, or you might have a storefront, or whatever it would be. But that's a whole other enchilada. And at the end of the day, it turns out that we stay away from that. We shy away from that. So that's not really our world, just because some people, some people do different strategies, but some people love multifamily because with commercial, they don't look at your credit at all. They actually run the numbers based on the actual dwelling and the building itself. So it's based on the rent roll, and it's a completely different way of doing business. Usually with those there, the bank is going to want a higher down payment. So residential, we put 20% down. commercial, they're generally going to want about 30% or higher, depending on loan to value, risk assessment, all that kind of stuff. So for us, just residential. Then there's also the other side of the real estate. So I'm trying to think of like, there's the commercial, residential. There was another, maybe it was just the multifamily, which kind of falls under commercial.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. But for us, residential is where we're at.
For the most part, yeah. We will potentially expand in those other areas. But for right now, residential is our focus. Keep
Journey
straight.
to $1 billion.
Yes.
Woo!
That's what it's about. So some of the simple terminology is, let's start with sellers and buyers. So when there's a property, you have two sides. You're going to have the seller who is in control of the property, who's changing it to a buyer. And, you know, that can be any kind of property. That can be really anything. So that's a really simplistic term. Wholesaling. Okay. So in that process of something being sold to a buyer, everything is done on paper. Okay. What a true wholesaler does is they gain control of the paper on the property, and then they turn around and sell that control to someone else.
So at the end of the day, whenever you want to go purchase a property, there's always going to be paperwork. There's going to be an offer to purchase. So if Alisa has a property that I want to buy, and I go talk to Alisa and I say, hey, you've got that property, I want to buy it. But you know what? I might not actually close on it myself. I might actually bring in a friend or another associate to close on it. So why don't we tie it up in contract, right? So I'm going to do an offer with Alisa, but I'm going to do an and or assignee clause where I might close on it, or my friend might close on it, or I might put it under my corporation. It's got to be flexible, which is why we put in the assignment clause. But on the back end, I could turn around and sell it to my friend Fred and charge him $5,000 or whatever fee. Maybe he threw in a car. Maybe I charge him $500. Whatever we agree on, I basically charge him. It doesn't cost the seller anything. But then at the end of the day, I'm going to get paid for selling that piece of paper, the contract.
Yeah.
So, you know, now Fred's happy. He ended up with the building. The seller was happy because they ended up with selling their property. And I'm happy because I ended up making some money in between. Boom, win-win.
Absolutely. So that's a one a lot of people get lost with or concerned with. The thing is, this is actually a great starting point. Being a wholesaler is a great way to get into real estate if you don't have any of your own money. It's a great way to get into this industry, because what it's about is networking and then piecing pieces together. So say you've got Shirley. Shirley is looking for 3-bed, 2-bath houses on the northeast side of Toronto. Okay, just to throw it out there. You can write that down, and then as you're perusing, walking neighborhoods, talking to people, out there networking, whatever that looks like for finding those leads, and go, wow, I found a house that might fit Shirley's demographic. Let's see how low I can get the price point on this. You usually should have a rough idea of what Shirley will pay for a property in that area that'll work for her program. And then you can turn around and wholesale it to her. You do all the negotiating. That's it. So it's really, that's what wholesaling is.
Yeah. And it is not, just for all clarification, because sometimes realtors are like, you're not allowed to do that. You can't charge a commission. I'm like, dude, never said it was a commission.
Yeah.
It's like a finder's fee. It's a wholesale fee. I am not selling real estate. I am selling the contract to the real estate.
That's
so
right.
Fun fact, Alisa and I, when we were doing this in the beginning, we actually got pulled in by the Saskatoon Real Estate Commission.
Yeah. Because
we were wholesaling properties, and they're like, you can't do that. And we're like, yeah, we can. And so we went in, explained what we were doing, and said, we're doing nothing wrong. And then when we actually explained what we were doing with wholesaling contracts and broke it down for them, we said, dude, we're not charging a commission for services. We're not charging a fee for our services. We are charging a wholesale fee. So they were like, yeah, actually, you're right. And so it's really important to know, if you're doing whatever this, like wholesaling,
know the legislation in your area.
Exactly. And you also have to know, if somebody calls you, you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
We've actually had phone calls from people being like, I got a phone call from the real estate commission. I don't know what to do. Okay, if you don't know what to do, you probably shouldn't be wholesaling.
No.
Okay. Just a word of advice.
You should be in your lane.
Yeah. So anyway, at the end of the day, make sure you know all the ins and outs, and make sure that you're staying cognizant within the boundaries of whatever market you're in.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I know that's one that trips up people. Do we have any questions? Nothing? Okay.
What's the Q&A thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got our team out here today, so they're
Yeah,
all checking stuff and whatever. We're still waiting for questions, guys. Come on out.
Oh,
That's for next week.
yeah.
Okay. So at the end of the day, we talked about wholesaling. So, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with wholesaling, and there's nothing wrong with using agents. We use realtors for so many opportunities. Again, the market here in Saskatoon is very different. We are in a buyer's market, and so we generally have houses fall into our lap. It's interesting though, because the stuff with COVID right now, we actually in the last week have had 3 people call us about properties we just bought, right? And so what's happening is, for us, we go in all cash, no conditions, close in 5 days. It's really easy. So at the end of the day, if somebody's going to put an offer on a property and they're going to get maybe 2 offers or more, so they've got our offer, all cash. We have a very good track record. We've never not bought a property we put under contract. And you're literally going to get the rest of the money in 5 days, no conditions. We're not subject to home inspections. We're not subject to financing. We're not subject to anything. Dude, you're going to get your money. And so at the end of the day, boom, this is over. So then if they got our offer and then they get another offer where it might be a little bit higher, but it's subject to a financing condition, you know how the banks are right now, tightening their purse strings, or subject to home inspection. Well, what if there's something wrong on the property and they're like, oh, I know that this might come up or this might happen or whatever. It might make more sense for them to just go with our all cash offer. And they do. So at the end of the day, we've been getting properties. We were not the highest bidders, but for us, it's just easy peasy. So now all of a sudden we've had some calls from realtors and they're like, hey, my clients missed out on that property. I'm like, then they should have paid more, or they should have written a more aggressive offer. Not my problem. We don't sell properties, we buy and hold. Sorry, not sorry.
So we do have a question. Is there one or more daily resources where you check the local market stats, like homes sold in the area? Beth.
We have realtors for that.
That's exactly where I was going to go. We actually work with about 6 to 8 realtors very closely in our area, and it makes all the difference. I can call any one of them up and go, hey, can you tell me the exact amount of houses that have sold in this neighborhood or that? So really, I don't have something I check all the time. I do have the ability though to call them, and actually I've got one realtor who is sending me stats on a monthly basis, telling me breakouts of, yes, how many houses have sold, all the things. Ironically, I don't know if we've talked about this before, how we were one of the stats for the amount of houses in Saskatoon actually purchased last year. We actually showed up on the breakouts as purchasers for real estate in Saskatoon.
Yeah, we're a percentage for sure. But again, you got to remember, we've been buying like 20 houses a month. And I mean, there's thousands of houses that sell a year, but at the end of the day, when one purchaser is buying that volume of properties, it's interesting. The other interesting thing is part of our formula, because again, with the bank regulations and everything, we buy the properties, but then we renovate them, get them appraised. And then when we have a hassle-free landlord owner who wants to purchase a property with us, we relist it on MLS with our agents to get a new MLS footprint. And then we sell it and pay them a small commission for doing it, right? So it's interesting too, because in Saskatoon here, it got a lot of people talking. Because all of a sudden, in the last 2 months, we just sold 50 properties. What's going on? E.P.I.C must be going bankrupt. Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Why are they selling properties, right? For us, we're like, come to the source and we'll explain to you what's happening here.
Yeah.
No big deal. But people like to just do their things and assume things. And I was like, that's fine. But we're literally a huge impactor in what's happening in our market. And it's specifically happening a lot on the west side of Saskatoon. So there's a lot of east side and west side, mostly west side's a lot of rental properties, east side's more homeowners, but it's really interesting and
this
fun.
Is a good one.
Okay,
I think this is Nicolette.
Yep.
Way back when, I like way back when, I fit that age demographic. When you started, how did you identify which realtors were the best to work with? How did you vet them? This is a story. So Rochelle and I we were trying to tally it, but it's somewhere between 30, 35, 40 realtors in there that we literally strategically went up to and said, hey, this is what our vision is. This is what we're doing. And the amount of them that blew us off was crazy. Yeah. And so how did we vet them? Honestly, for me, I'll give my angle and Rochelle will give hers. Yeah. I vet them on their integrity. I vet them on their communication. I vet them on, is this somebody I can actually spend a lot of time with and conversing with? Because if I can't, it's not going to work. There's nothing there. I don't care how good they are at doing that. If I can't have the rapport with them and they can't have it with me, and if they aren't going to fit my parameters of what I need from them, it's not going to work as a relationship. And the other thing, if they're going to sit there and demand that I only use them as my realtor, they're not my people either.
Bye, Felicia.
Yeah, because you know what that is? That's a number one sign of a scarcity mindset. Doesn't work in our world.
Yeah, exactly. We had, I think, 3 realtors we had talked to were like, oh, well, because again, when we started, guys, we were not doing this. We knew we were going to be doing a lot of volume at some point, but it's one thing to say something, and then it's another thing to put the words into action and do. And we've proved ourselves. So it's interesting too, when we've talked to a lot of these agents and said, if you ever get any pocket listings, if you ever get any foreclosures, come to us. We'll find a way to buy them, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of people were like, oh yeah, okay, who are you, right? And we're like, well, right now we're just starting, but it's going to turn into something big. And I mean, we had so many people that would say stuff and, oh yeah, sounds great, keep you in mind, and then never hear from them again. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is now, fast forward 5 years, and we're literally buying, like I said, 20 houses a month, most of them directly off of MLS. And so sometimes these other agents will come back and they'll be like, oh, I might have a property for you. And I'm like, okay, chances are we've already seen it because our agents who we work with on the daily have already sent it to us. And the way we work it is whoever sends the property first, whether it's their listing or not, is who we go and look at the property with. At the end of the day, no, we don't work with any one agent. We work with a lot of agents who want to hustle and who understand what we're looking for, and they can move fast, right? So a lot of times by the time we actually go and put paper or walk through the property, we've already locked it down before another agent's actually sent us the actual property. So, I mean, how many times does this happen in a month? I'd say 2 to 5 probably, where we get a listing and I'm like, oh, we just bought that one. How did you already buy it? It just hit the market an hour ago. You're too slow. Not my problem. Work faster, right? So again, when we move fast, we move fast. So it's really interesting. Again, we're at a very different stage right now just because of the volume of investors we have coming in. We've got 70 team members. We're able to do really high level stuff, but it's fun. I like it. And, at the end of the day, I'm not driven by ego and I don't like people who are. So some of those realtors that we even interviewed with back in the day, they're like, oh, well, I'm one of the heaviest listers and blah, 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 blah. Well, now that wasn't an easy market. It was in a seller's market. So now all of a sudden times get tough. We're in a buyer's market. We're killing it and they're struggling. And don't wish that on anybody. It's just, again, the proof is in the pudding. So it's just really interesting. I'm like, we're all about the underdogs. We are the underdogs. We help the underdogs get ahead. And I like that.
The right underdogs, the underdogs with the right passion.
Yeah, for sure. Again, it's like, if you think that you're better than you are, keep walking.
Yeah.
But if you want to be better than you are, and you want to keep striving, and there's a better version of yourself, and you're going to put in the work and do the mindset and up level, then come on, we want to work with you.
So true. Oh, look at these questions coming.
Yay, questions.
Rochelle's very happy. Mm-hmm. Jasmine, questions about HFLP. What percentage of total rent payments does E.P.I.C receive on average? How are you different from a property management company? Who are your stockholders? How are renters being affected by COVID? Are they making payments on time?
Let's take that one question at a time.
Yeah. Number 1, what percentage of total rent payment does E.P.I.C receive on average?
So I'm guessing this is regarding the HFLP. So just for clarification, I'm guessing you're asking of the rent we collect from our actual tenants, how much does E.P.I.C get versus our clients, our investors, our hassle-free landlord investors? And honestly, it depends.
Yeah.
For us, it is very low on the average, but we have some really heavy hitters. So we do some furnished rentals, we do some Airbnbs. Some of those houses cash flow $500 to $1,000 a month. Right? And then we have other houses that are negative 100 or 200 by the time we pay our investor. But you have to remember that for us, the cash flow and the rental on these properties is not our long-term play. Every time we pay rent to our investors, if they're taking all the cash flow, we're earning the principal pay down. So for us, when it comes to the hassle-free landlord program, for us, our rental houses are little piggy banks. Because we know every time we're paying rent to the investor, a portion of that is getting saved for a rainy day. Eventually, when the investor sells a property back to us, we'll get paid out. No big deal. This is why, though, on the front end of the business, we have to flip the houses into our hassle-free landlord program, because that's what keeps the lights on. That's what pays our staff. That's what covers our overhead. That's how we make the money today, if that makes sense.
Got her? Good. How are you different from a property management company?
Okay.
Ole.
Just to be clear, we are not a property management company.
Period.
Right?
So
we're different because we aren't.
Yes, that would be number
At
one.
all.
Number one.
At all.
Number one. Yeah. The other reason is we're an invested partner with you on the property. It's a partnership. So we're the active side. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Okay. Property managers are basically hired bitches. They honestly, I'm just going to call it what it is. They come in, they attempt to deal with something on your behalf to a limited, very limited capacity, and then they turn around and they bill you for everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go into a partnership and hassle-free landlord with you and with us, and we take care of everything.
So at the end of the day, when somebody in Saskatoon calls us and say, hey, I have a property, I want you to property manage, I'm like, not my problem, I'm nobody's bitch. So at the end of the day, we will give solutions. Maybe if it makes sense, we might buy the property from them.
Yeah.
We could show them a smarter way to invest if they've bought wrong. But at the end of the day, we're not going to buy the property if it doesn't make financial sense. We don't pay fair market value for houses. We would need to get them about 30 grand around, or whatever, depending on the property, less than fair market value. So for some people it works, for other people, no big deal. We do have good property managers we can put people in touch with, but it's up to you to vet them. And if something goes wrong, don't come at me. It's not my problem. You want to be a hassle-free landlord owner?
Number 3, who are your stockholders? Well, basically you're looking at them. We're not a publicly traded company.
Never will be.
No.
Alice is always like, never say never.
I know,
but honestly,
right?
this is our baby.
Yeah.
We're 50-50 owners in the company, and we have no need for any other people to have any control over it. We've come from nothing. We built it out of nothing. And, sometimes we can't agree on stuff. I don't need more brains in putting their discussions or their opinions and things. We'll hash it out ourselves.
Every once in a while it involves boxing gloves, but it's okay.
Yeah, no.
How are our renters being affected by COVID? Again, we're very blessed being located in the market we are, but that didn't just happen by accident. We like this market for rental properties because of the style of the ORT that's here. So in regards to, and the type of tenants we're dealing with, in regards to that, our tenants, 90% of them are on social services. The checks are coming from the government. So honestly, how many hiccups have we had? We've literally had 3 properties where they went, we're not paying rent because of COVID. Okay, fine. We'll get rid of you. No problem. But out of the hundreds we have, that is it. Out of the other ones that are working people, or were people that actually became unemployed, we've actually been working with them. They've just broken up their rent into multiple payments in the month, which we were fine with. They like their properties. They understand. We educated them that, at some point there will be changes, that, there isn't going to be such a thing as a free ride. By all means, it's your choice right now, but understand at some point you will lose this property if you carry on like this. So, it's just not worth the energy. So we don't put the energy there. And again, we were very on point to educate our clients. The other thing we did is we were like, okay, just in case this became a thing, we actually offered a 10% rebate on the next month's rent. So as long as you paid your rent on time, or made arrangement, or paid all of it in April, in May, you received a 10% rebate. And wow, we couldn't believe how people were just like, here's my rent, here's my rent, here's my rent. Done. Easy peasy. So what is the rebate? It's a gift card. What's a gift card, people? A write-off. Win. So yeah. So that's some of the things we did, along with a lot of educating that, like we said, don't pay your rent. It is what it is. But this is what will happen.
The biggest thing to remember as well is that with us, we're at the rental spin every month anyway.
Yeah.
Just because we have, what is it, 600 tenants, something, or whatever it is. I can't remember. It's
600
like 600 doors, and I think there's like 400 tenants, whatever it is. But it's unreal. There's a lot of moving parts. But at the end of the day, this is why we want control of those properties, because for us to decide to make that executive decision to do the rebates for the tenants, that was just, we decided on that and said, let's just do this. We think it'll be good. Whereas if we were property managers, it's something we would have had to have pitched to all of our homeowners, and some of them might have gone for it. Some of them wouldn't have gone for it, blah, 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 blah. Too much work, not our thing. Again, how we differ from property management.
Okay. So Carmen, super excited to hear you two talk. Thank you. What do you look for in a market when starting to wholesale? I don't think it matters what market you start in. What you need to look for and concentrate on is who's selling and who's buying.
Yeah.
That's what you need. Because again, as I explained earlier, you are going to be the connector, the networker, the one that puts the pieces together. So you need to know what are the types of houses selling in your area, and you need to know who's buying what.
The one tip I will definitely give to anybody who's looking to eventually wholesale, build your buyer's database first.
Yep.
Find out what they're looking for, and then make sure they're qualified, vetted, and able to move, and then go find what they're looking for.
We buy off wholesalers all the time.
All the time.
They know what we're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting too, because we'll have sometimes people reach out and be like, I want to wholesale to you. I'm like, that's great. We have very specific numbers, very specific demographics. And if you send me something, I'll look at it. But I mean, we make decisions in 5 minutes. We know if we're even interested. We can Google the address and your price point and know if it's something even worth looking at or spending time and energy into.
So Beth, have you any joint venture partnerships with others in Canada or the States? Implementing your process and systems. Thanks, loves.
No. So our products, our Fund to Flip program and our hassle-free landlord program are proprietary to our business. We created them, we invented them, and we fostered them. So right now, nobody can use our names, hassle-free landlord program or Fund to Flip, because that is our investment opportunity that we provide to people. So there are people doing variations of, right? So some people might be doing a rent own. All we did with the hassle-free landlord program is we twisted a traditional rent to own. So there's not an actual rent to own tenant. We're the rent to own tenant. And that's how we gain control of the properties. Now, at the end of the day, people do rent to owns all the time. Good, do them. Just don't call them hassle-free landlord program, and make sure you know what you're doing. Whatever. But for us, it's always going to be our company, and it's always going to be us at the helm running it. So at some point we are going to have and be up and running in different cities. But if it's an Epic Alliance product, which is hassle-free landlord program or Fund to Flip, it'll be our product. We have no interest in like licensing or franchising our brand, because we've worked too hard for everything. Our integrity is everything. And at the end of the day, we've always paid every single one of our clients every single penny of principal and interest owed to them. And I just don't trust other people to do the same thing. There's a lot of shady people doing a lot of shady shit. And for us, we just know we run the same way with the same moral principles and guiding compasses for integrity. And so it works well.
Absolutely. Carmen, this is from Carmen. How do you personally work on your mindset?
Lots of ways.
Yeah, it's true. It's honestly, everybody always wants, it almost seems like everybody wants that magic pill or that quick fix, or there's no such thing. It's, you gotta first ask the hard questions. Who are you? And honestly, what's your hiccups? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, where do you get hung up? Are you fearful? Are you over analytical? You need to ask those hard questions, because if you don't, you can't be aware and then turn around and find the tools to either fix them or partner with them or get beyond them. Something like that.
So for myself personally, I mean, personal development's been a big thing in my world since I was 28. So that's when I went to my first ever personal development seminar. And actually I was introduced to it by my little sister. So she had went to this program, or a 3-day workshop, 6 months earlier. And when she came back from it, she was all geared up and all woo woo and stuff. She's like, oh my God, Rochelle, this was life changing. And oh my God. I was like, did you drink the Kool-Aid? And anyway, I was just like, whatever, right? Had no idea about mindset, had no idea about next level with energies and all this kind of stuff. But I always say the proof is in the pudding. So 6 months later, she had completely pivoted 180 her entire life. Like literally, she was just leveling up in so many ways. And I was like, maybe there's something to that Kool-Aid.
Right.
So from there, I ended up going with, she reattended and she invited me. So I went. And that for me was the best decision I could have ever made in my world. And if you hear us on other podcasts and hear the story, that was really the catalyst that basically introduced me to Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Then I ended up meeting Alisa when we met in prison and in school and all that kind of stuff. And then one thing led to another. But honestly, I truly believe that that was the gift and the reward for me putting in that work. So since then, we've done, Alisa did the same course.
Yep.
Then we did extra levels with them. We also did the Hoffman process, which was huge.
Hardest thing I've ever done.
Heavy.
Yeah.
And like literally soul crushing work, but it was so worth the work.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were taking it, it was actually a 7-day retreat center.
Yeah.
And when we left, we didn't know how to tell the staff. And so we were leaving, and we just told them we were going to some business conference. We wouldn't have access to our phones or laptops and stuff. So, you know, we trust you guys.
They were all like, what?
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing.
No, I live on my phone 24/7. And I was like, we trust you guys. You got this. And at the end of the day, I was like, well, what can we do? We need to work on ourselves. So we went, and it was literally the hardest thing that I've ever done, but the best thing that I ever did. And when I left there, I really felt like I had the blueprint to how Rochelle works. And that is priceless, right? And so from there, I mean, yeah, I fuck up all the time, but it's one of those things, like it's that once, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And it's like, okay, like don't beat yourself up about what went wrong. It's like, reflect on it, fix it, and then go forward. And it's like just moving really quickly, but it's knowing who you are, how you work, and figuring out your strengths and weaknesses. And in my opinion, I always tell people, don't focus on your weaknesses. Really hone in on your strengths. Figure out what it is you do well and make that your craft. Make that what makes you special. And then basically hire out people for the weaknesses. That's kind of the way I do it. I have no patience. So, I brought Bailey on to help me train the new assistant, Brenda, and that's working really, really well. Because I'm like, I can't do the things. I just don't have it in me. Right. And so at the end of the day, it's like, figure it out. Right. And so anyway, that's just my side of it, but it's like continually working. It's the mindset, having coaches. I got 3 coaches, right? All for different aspects of my life. And it's just continually leveling up and listening to audiobooks and being careful who you hang out with, right? That whole adage of look at the 5 top people in your world. And, basically it's a reflection of you. So if you don't like, when you're looking around at your friends, if you don't like what's looking back at you, time to level up, my friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Sometimes people are in your life for a season, a reason, or they're there forever. And you need to figure out, and pick who is meant to be there and who has just been a season.
And honestly, for me, like with Hoffman, my short version is the awareness I got from it is not something you can unprogram. And it took everything to a next level. My awareness of my emotions, my thoughts, my awareness of my body, the energies, all of it, and how it relates to all of my circumstances around me and all of the people around me. And again, being able to look and go, oh, okay, I know what's going on here. Whoa, Alisa, chill, settle for a second. Oh, no, Alisa, push harder. You need to. This is that block. This is that moment. Do it. So, again, but that doesn't happen unless you're going to go to the right people to work with your mindset. So again, that also comes down to find that right coach or find that right group that you're going to surround yourself with to make this happen. And that won't happen overnight. It'll take time. And honestly, at the age I'm at, from my perspective, I'm going to say it's not something I'm ever going to stop learning.
And it shouldn't.
No.
The minute you quit learning, you're dying. The minute you quit growing, you're dying, right?
Yeah.
that's just where you got to go. Yeah. Ashley?
Kind of a long one. So
okay. Ashley's going to read it. Make sure you read loud.
So Amrit is asking, Hi, you both. Good to see you under the sun. I believe you must be having a network of mortgage brokers that are investor friendly. Will they or anyone be able to handle an investor who is currently not working but has adequate savings to invest? Can he hook the investor up with a private lender or something like that?
No, that's not what our people do. So we work with traditional mortgage brokers who they work with the banks and A and B lenders, and they are very creative. But if you don't have a monthly source of income, there's nothing they can do for you. We had a client who has a $4 million property, tons of equity, paid off completely. And unfortunately, because she has no monthly income, she couldn't qualify for a mortgage. I mean, there's no magic that can happen. You still have to have some form of monthly income in order to qualify. So what I would suggest for you is that maybe you could turn around and find somebody who has credit capabilities. You bring your money, they bring the credit, and then you make stuff happen that way.
Yeah, go into some kind of partnership.
Yeah. One more.
So another one from Jasmine. Just wanted to clarify, you mentioned that the cash flow per month to the investor could fall in the negatives. Is that right? If so,
no, that is not right.
Okay.
Let her finish.
No,
When-
I know,
Yeah.
but
When does this happen and how often? If the cash flow amount fixed for the duration of the time, is the cash flow amount fixed for the duration of the time? Will E.P.I.C cover that monthly cash flow or the mortgage if the renter can't for whatever reason?
yeah, so one thing you have to remember, and we will send the links for the Hassle-Free Landlord webinar if you want to watch it. It's literally, we did an hour breakdown of how this works, all the ins and outs. What you have to understand here is that we take the risk. So if there's any negatives or vacancies or repairs or management
We're paying
issues
it.
or anything that goes wrong on the property, that's what we bring to the table. So all of our investors are very cash flow positive, to the tune of, on a $200,000 property, our investors are going to have $43,000 in that property because of the 20% down payment and the closing costs. They're going to earn a 15% annual rate of return every single month, like clockwork. The first of the month, that investor is going to cash flow over $530 every single month. Doesn't matter if the tenant we sublet to ruined the property. Doesn't matter if the tenant we sublet to didn't pay rent. Doesn't matter if we are negative $100 or $200 a month. Doesn't matter. That's not the agreement.
Doesn't change.
Yeah. So that's how it works. It's really easy. So again, this is the big thing. So when people are like, how are you guys selling 50 houses in 2 months? Our opportunity is amazing. It's amazing. And I mean, don't take our word for it. Go onto our website, look at some of the testimonials. I mean, you know, and it's crazy. And so honestly, this spinoff here, this is why in July, Bailey and I are literally going back. We're rewriting. We're starting an affiliate army, guys. An affiliate army. We want to have everybody out there talking about who we are, what we do, whether they invest with us or don't invest with us. If you don't invest with us, why? Like, why not? Maybe it's you don't have money. Maybe it's that you're getting referral fees, so you're going to save up so you can qualify for your own hassle-free landlord program property. Whatever that looks like, that's fine. But essentially, we just want to have people who are going out telling people who we are, what we do, because I'm really tired of being Canada's best kept investment secret.
Yep.
So that's where we're going to be putting our energy going forward. It's going to be exciting times, and this is how we're going to get to our journey to $1 billion. It's working with people as an alliance to get us all ahead for our future goals.
Because I mean, we could talk about how great we are all day, but that just won't go so well. But honestly, when others start speaking, that's the true volume of power,
and
like word of mouth.
To date, we've paid out more than $250,000 in referral fees. Who wants a piece of that pie? Right? So instead of wholesaling properties, why don't you start wholesaling hassle-free landlord opportunities, people? That's where we're going to be changing the game.
Yep.
So when we say we revolutionize real estate investing,
Bam.
it's true. And so when some people say, oh yeah, sure, you're just doing whatever, and I'm like, let me take you to school.
Yeah, time to dig deep.
Yeah. So anyway, we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions? Okay.
No.
So
right.
let's get back to our key terms, just because I want to make sure we hit everything for this topic. We got 20 minutes.
Okay. So I'm going to put my reading glasses on, which are my $5 sunglasses so I can see. But property value, ARV, after renovation value. Basically, when you go purchase a property and it's in one state of condition, there are things you can do to push that amount, okay, of what that value is. So say you get into a property, it's worth $200,000, but it needs paint, it needs flooring, it needs whatever, a kitchen, whatever. That's what after renovation value is about. It's a projected amount to what that house should be worth once you've done the things. That is honestly one of the areas that most people get over ambitious and hurt themselves. They think that's where they're going to make the money. No. It's in, hey, there's that house. It's about 200,000. Man, if I can actually get that one for 175 or 180, and this ARV is 240, 250, that's your game changer.
Make your money in the buy. If you buy any other strategy besides that, you have no business flipping houses.
Yep. It's scary then.
So for us, when we run our numbers, we always make sure we know the actual fair market value right now. Then we know the price we need to get it for. Plus, we always overcompensate for our renovation budget. So that's the number you can inflate.
Yep.
And then we always go really conservative with the ARV.
Yep.
We always make sure that we forecasted too much for the renos. So if we use less, we're happy. And we always forecast that we are going to repair it, or the ARV after repair value will be less than what it probably will be.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, on that same property, if you were able to get it for 175,000, you put 30 grand into it, plus holding costs, whatever your numbers are, everyone's different. So now maybe your cost on that property is 215, and you forecasted selling it for 250, but it sells for 275. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, right? You're not going to be mad about it.
It's great.
Now just go and do it all the time.
But if you figured the after value would be 275 and you sold it for 250, now you're in a different position.
Yeah.
Now do you see why the money's made in the buy?
Exactly. And the other biggest thing is, do not be emotional about the property. If you're investing as a real estate investor, you got to kick the emotion out of it, guys. You have to kick the emotion out of it.
No
be
room.
logical and just figure out what your actual numbers are. Doesn't matter that it's a house that you would want to live in. Doesn't matter that, oh, I'm just going to spend an extra $1,000 here because that's what I would want in my house. Oh, I'm going to make sure I do this design and blah, 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 and spend all this extra money. It's not going to make you more money in the end.
I know nothing about design, but your favorite color might be purple. Don't paint the house purple.
No.
It's not going to go so well if you're looking to sell to the public.
So for us, our design palettes for any properties, they're always very vanilla. For me personally, I'm loud, I'm expressive. I love in your face and bold. Do I put that into my flips? No. Why not? Because not
That's
everybody.
the majority of the market.
Exactly. So we'll go with vanilla. And again, it's neutral, it's tasteful. It's the light grays and it's the whites and the whatever. And I bring in my function of color and my pops of color in the staging. Okay, cool. Teal lends itself really nice to that palette. Blue, okay, purple, whatever. It's the accessories. Those accessories can come out and someone else can put whatever they're going to put into it, right? Stick to the neutrals. Might not be your favorite, but honestly, that's what sells. I'm not going after the specific 5% who might love it. I'm going after the 95% who will.
Good job. All right, appraised value. That is really, honestly, you hire an appraiser and they're going to come in and they're going to look at all the comparable houses in that market or a very, very close market to see what that house should average out at for a price point. That's all it is. It's what the banks use. It's kind of similar to what a realtor would probably, when they're talking about pulling comparables, it's all the components there. They're good? Okay. Fair market value. Well, that depends. Oh, 18 minutes. All right. So fair market value is basically, again, it goes back to the averages. So you're going to look at a house, a 3-bed, 2-bath in the northeast neighborhood of whatever, Silver Heights. That standard house in that neighborhood, average condition, is going to sell for $380,000. There's your rough fair market value. Okay.
But what's interesting is sometimes the appraised value can be higher than the fair market value.
Yep.
Right? Because they might look at, 6 months ago, this house sold and this house sold. Doesn't mean that's what people are going to pay today.
That's right.
And fair market value is only what you can get for the property today.
Yep.
I can put all this money into it and this is one of the things that we've seen actually quite a few people do. So they will come into an area and there's a cap for every single area you are renovating in. And for us, we always make sure that we are not the prettiest, fanciest house in that neighborhood. We want to be just middle of the ground, middle row. We want to make sure we're affordable. We want to make sure there's a chance that a lot of people are going to come and look at it because we priced it accordingly and efficiently. And at the end of the day, there's some neighborhoods you just would not put granite or quartz into. Why? Because it's a rental market. Doesn't mean it's going to, yeah, you might get a better tenant, but it's not going to make the house worth more. Right? So you got to be very cognizant of what renovations you're doing in certain neighborhoods, because it could be the frickin' Taj Mahal, but if you built it in the hood, it's only worth what people are willing to pay.
We bought a few of those.
Yeah, we bought them directly from builders, man. We have builders coming to us and I'm like, why did you build a house in the hood? You had no business building that right here.
Yeah.
How much did it cost you?
That style of house.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm like, we'll be like, hey, how much did it cost you? Oh, $230? We'll pay you $235.
Yeah.
Take it, don't take it. No worries. But yeah, we have about 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
We've bought like that.
Okay, property purchasing. So one of the terms we're looking at today is agreement
For sale.
For sale.
Agreement for sale.
Oh yeah.
So agreement for sale is a term where that basically it's a creative financing term, but essentially if you have a distressed owner and they just need out of it, they can't afford to pay for the mortgage anymore, they're going to lose the property anyway, if you can convince them to basically do an agreement for sale with you, it just means that they still own the property, they still have their mortgage, but then you gain control of the property by taking over their mortgage and the property taxes and the ownership of the property, except where they still own it. So it's, anyway, go to a lawyer for it. I usually suggest that if you haven't done them before, but it's a really creative way that people can get into real estate with no money down. If somebody's
all the time,
yeah,
people.
If somebody's a distressed owner and you can be the solution for their problems, do an agreement for sale. And then, you know, you figure out whatever terms with that person. So if you decided that you wanted to take on a high-end house because someone was going to lose it, you want to go and do a slight renovation, flip the property, and then sell it on the market, great, do that. Or if you just want to keep a property long-term as a rental property, great, do it. There's so many different things that can happen. In the States, this same agreement for sale, it's called subject to financing. So again, it's really important. A lot of times people are like, oh, well, I'm a real estate investor in the States, I'll just come do it in Canada, or vice versa. Guys, slow your roll. It's not how it works. There's different legislation, there's different terminology. You need to make sure you're doing your research, right? So again, just even that, if you go to the States and you're like, oh, I'm going to do an agreement for sale, people are like, what?
Right.
What is that? But if you say it's subject to, they're like, I got you, right? So no, make sure you know what you're doing.
Yes, so true. Okay, wholesaling we already covered. Assignment. So this
we kind of
is,
talked about that.
Yeah, we did under assignment. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So control versus possession date. It's kind of become a big one in E.P.I.C, and that's because this is about creative finance and being flexible. So control date goes back to what Rochelle kind of broke out for also agreement for sale. Okay. You gain control of the property, but you may not yet have possession. And people are like, oh, that you can't do that. That's not a thing. We had mentors tell us this years and years and years ago. Yeah, I would like gain control of a property so I could get in and get my renovation started, but I wouldn't even own the property. You can negotiate anything into the paperwork as long as the two parties will agree to it. That's it. That's all, folks.
Totally. And we do that all the time with our wholesalers. So the agreements that we have is they renovate the property according to our specs. And then we have a pre-negotiated price. So we know what we're going to be buying that house for. Now, if the appraisal doesn't come in where we thought it will, or it goes in above, we've already agreed on the price, guys.
It is what it is.
Exactly. So are they going to be mad that we made an extra $30K on the property? No, because they got paid. They got what they wanted out of the transaction, and then we turn around and do what we do with it, right? At the end of the day, if it comes in $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 less than we thought, are we going to be mad about it? No, because it's a balance of averages. And so for us, it works out really well. But basically, the agreement that we do is they are going to renovate the property. The minute the property is done, we get keys for the property. We take over utilities. They still own it. They're paying the insurance. They're paying property taxes, all the stuff that goes along with the property. And then we have 3 months that we get control of the property and we keep it rent-free. This is written into the contract. So then we can turn around, rent the property from day one because it's already ready to go. We got it appraised and we started marketing it as a hassle-free landlord house from the word go. So now we actually have 3 months where we might not actually have to physically purchase the property from them as a fund to flip because we might be able to sell it right into the hassle-free landlord program. Boom, we just wholesale the property.
Works, eh?
Not bad.
So another actual quick one on that is something we've been doing more and more frequently, especially with the COVID going on and all that jazz, is we have been purchasing the house, but allowing the homeowner to stay for a period of time after we've purchased it. So there's an example where we have gained possession, but we don't actually have control. And there's benefits to that. Sometimes we have money we need to put to work, and then by them staying for 30 days, they're paying the utilities, and then they can have those funds to do their next transaction and make that transition. A prime example was we did this with one house. We really wanted this property. It was 2 suites, really liked it. Their problem was she was about to have a baby, COVID had hit, and their new build was not quite finished. So they were like so ecstatic that they gave us like a $35,000, $40,000 discount on that price that they had listed that house for, because that solved all their problems by us purchasing, but them being allowed to stay for 30 days and just pay the utilities. That is such, again, you guys, all it is a paper between a seller and a buyer coming to an agreement so that everything works. Okay. Don't forget that when you're negotiating.
And even when it comes to tenants, there's a lot of distressed landlords where they might not be wanting to sell or wanting to sell the property because of the tenants in place. So for us, depending on the price point, depending on the situation, a lot of times we'll just say, we'll take the tenants as is.
Yeah.
You don't got to worry about them. You don't got to worry about evicting. You know, you just get the price point. It's a negotiation
strategy. It's like, you get them out, I'll pay you this much. You don't, I'll pay you this much.
Yeah.
It's an option.
Exactly.
I love options.
For sure.
They may not like either option, but they'll pick one.
Usually they will.
Right?
They're in a situation. And I mean, let's talk about how many properties have you guys bought where they went back with the agents and offered every month. It's been on the market for 100 days, 150. 100.
Geez, I must be at a dozen already in the last few months, literally, where that's all I've been doing. I literally now have a kept chart calendar of, hey, this one, I have the addresses. The offer wasn't accepted. It like goes off 30 days later, and it's like, hey, we're gonna offer again. And you know, it works great.
Yeah. Or the property, we actually looked at 2 properties in one day, and I was like, oh my God, they're east side. We can use them as Airbnbs. They're suites. It's cute, whatever. We ended up tying one down. It was a foreclosure. It took us about a week to get it all dealt with and whatnot. And the other one was a homeowner house. And so actually Ashley found this because she was looking for her own house, and she's like, hey, this might work for an epic Airbnb. I'm like, let's look at it. So it's a corner lot in a really desirable neighborhood, but the boiler system they have in there is ancient AF, like old.
Yeah.
And so I knew instinctively as we looked at it, there's no way that a homeowner is going to buy this, because there's no way that that's going to pass an inspection. There is nobody in home inspector that I know of that will sign off saying that that is okay. And to replace a boiler like that is a 15 to 20 grand reno. So now so this property was priced accordingly. It was priced for $299,000, city assessment's $315. It's in line, right? But that boiler, and so I literally remember telling the girls that house is going to be mine. And so we put an offer on. We put it on for $270. I think that's where we started, $265, $270. They came back and they were stuck at $280. And I said, nope, I'm stuck at $275. Can't work, doesn't work, whatever. It just hit the market. So apparently they went in, got an accepted offer. I don't even know what the price was. I don't care. It fell through. Can you imagine? I don't know why. Home inspection maybe. But at the end of the day, our realtor came back and said that offer fell through on the property. I was like, oh, you don't say. Who could have forecasted that? I don't know. Yeah. But they came back and we ended up tying up the property and we got it for $278. So once we go in and do the renovation, we're going to actually add a bedroom on the main floor. So it'll be a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom on the main and a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom upstairs. It's probably going to appraise over $325. So $278, we go in and put $5 grand worth of work, stage it up as an Airbnb, boom, we just made money. And eventually, when the market actually comes back, it's going to flip in a freaking heartbeat. It's going to be amazing.
And it's funny how this all works. Little backstory here. Back when we first started, we wouldn't touch houses that had boilers.
Yeah.
We didn't have the capability. Now we have our own plumbers on staff with things called gas tickets and all those great things. And guess what? It's not so scary. We can either go in and plumb the house to a furnace ourselves, or we can go replace the boiler ourselves. Game changer.
Totally.
So what do we got? Closing costs. This is cool. This is a big one to really learn for your market, your area, because it's going to affect how you can make money, okay? The closing costs in Saskatchewan, we're super blessed. One, we have the relationship with an amazing group of lawyers where we get very volume discounted pricing, okay? So that changes it hugely there, okay? The other area is province to province, state to state, the costs, your fees, your taxes for closing affect your ability to buy a property. Here we're blessed. We don't have land transfer tax per se. It's a small minor fee. It's like $35. Not a thing, right? You go to Ontario or you go, I believe Alberta has them as well. It's a huge difference, okay? When you're having to pay a percentage of the sale in tax, okay? So just something to keep in mind. As is, where is, how is. Woo! We bought some beauties with this clause. You will quite often see this for us up here anyways in bank foreclosure. They will have this written along with a Schedule A. They will basically take these 3 terms and write it into like a 5-page document, but this is what it's saying. It's like, you're going to take all the things that are there. You're going to take that there's a hole in the wall. We're not going to negotiate any of the things. Thank you. Negotiate any of the things. And it's how it is. So that's all that states. Literally, whatever. So, because we buy a lot of houses that are estate,
Yeah, lots of estates.
and there'll be stuff that like piled up the wall. Thank you. Piled up the walls and all those kinds of things, or whatever the case may be. We bought houses that have gang tags in the basement. We have to go in and paint and renovate. So that's what that's referring to. You're just going to take it the way it is, and then you're going to deal with all of the things that come up because you took it in that form. Okay, that's all that means.
Yep. And then financing, we have some topics there.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. You just got to figure out where you're getting your funds for if you're going to raise capital. Because again, for us, we've never gone to the bank. We won't go to the bank. We use private investors for everything. We create win-win operations and win-win situations. So for us, we use a lot of Olympia trust funds. So that's where we basically show investors that if you've got underperforming RSPs, LIRAs, TFSAs, any of that fun stuff, then you would turn around and basically you can show them how to put their money there and then use it as they're your lender. So it's a very advanced strategy. If you don't know what you're doing, you have to get schooled up in it, but that's how we have millions of dollars worth of investors' money, because we're creating win-win operations. But with Olympia Trust, the rules are you can do a first, second, or third mortgage position. So if somebody has cash and then they have an RSP and then they have a TFSA, we might be able to use their funds to do a full deal. So again, that's where for us it's creative financing. If you have any of those items that I talked about, or you have cash or home equity line of credit and you want to be a private money lender, book in a discovery session phone call and we can show you how we could potentially create a win-win opportunity that suits you. But essentially that's what we do, a fund to flip opportunities. And we do that through Olympia Trust doing what's called an arm's length mortgage. So again, we could do an entire episode just talking about this. I won't because I'm bored by it, but at the end of the day, we could. So then there's also promissory notes. So if you have somebody with money and they're willing to do basically a loan to you, maybe it's just to pay for the renovation on a property or to help for some holding costs or whatever. It's basically a loan, just a fancy
unsecured loan, basically.
It's just a fancy word for a loan. So promissory note. Then there's vendor take-back mortgages. So that's essentially if you had somebody who was they had cash, they had a lot of equity in the property, and they only needed so much to pay out the actual bank for the mortgage. So essentially, you might go get a bank mortgage and then do a second mortgage that's a vendor take-back mortgage, where essentially the owner is the one who is going to turn around and hold the mortgage for you. So they become your bank. That's a whole other way. Again, get a good lawyer if you don't know how to structure those. Rent to own. So we talked about how the hassle-free landlord program are just twisted rent to own contracts, and then foreclosures. That's how we get a lot of properties and on all that kind of stuff.
Actually, it's a lot of times it's pre-foreclosure as well as before the bank has taken it. We get a lot of those ones too.
Yep. And then property improvement. There's two different things there. So one is the flipping side. So you basically go to flip the house where there's just kind of money, you're making more money in the buy. And then there's the forced appreciation play, which is by doing the work, that's where
sometimes referred to as the BRRRR method.
Yeah, BRRRR method. So buy a property, renovate, rent, refinance, do it again, repeat whatever it is BRRRR. So basically that's what we do with our business. We just do it with our investors.
Yeah.
And then for investing, there's some words we can talk about in here really quick just to get through these. We have a couple minutes left. We're going to tie up right away. We've got, for investing, we got balloon payment. So again, with our fund to flip opportunities, we pay our investors at the end of the deal in a balloon payment because you guys need to quit texting because I can see it on the screen. So at the end of the day, you're going to have the balloon payment and it's going to pay a payment at the end of the deal. Right? So you're not going to get paid monthly. If you want a monthly payment with us, it comes through our hassle-free landlord program, but it's a balloon payment at the end of the deal. If you got equity, that's basically where you've got your money in the property. So if you're paying down a property mortgage, then you're building equity in the property. Caveat, we file caveats, so we have the right to file caveats and liens on investors who invest with us. And then there's going to be the capital gain or capital loss. So that's more for if you're the actual investor on title. A capital gain is if you bought a property for $200,000, put 20 grand into it or whatever the valuation is, but then you're selling it for more, then you made a capital gain on that property. So you're going to get taxed on that. Or if you lost money on the property, there's going to be a capital loss. So that's, again, our fund to flip investors don't experience that. That's if you actually are physically active and flipping properties on your own. And then there's
net operating incomes and all kinds of things, but we've kind of run out of time today. So well, What do we got? A couple of minutes left?
No, we're done.
We're done? All right.
Yeah.
Then,
So
yeah.
thanks for joining us. But next
Yeah.
week's webinar is going to be
June 17th at 12 p.m. Saskatchewan time, which means 2 p.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. Pacific. Don't miss it.
Thanks,
if you do,
guys.
watch the recording for gosh sakes.
So
Stay epic.
thanks, guys. Have a great one.